Welcome everybody to the inner circle. Today, as I said, we're going to get into something that most entrepreneurs ignore until it bites them in the butt, and that's it's unit economics. Right? This isn't your economics class that you took back in high school, or maybe you avoided back in high school. This is getting into a little bit more deep when it relates to your profit lines and your economic position as a business. So, right? So this isn't just the top line. These are the numbers underneath the numbers, the ones that actually determine if you survive, scale, or slowly drown with a smile on your face because you just didn't see it coming, right? See, it's something that I always think really strongly when I have conversations with other entrepreneurs and they proudly tell me how much revenue they do per year. I was sitting with a guy the other day and he's telling me, he's like, "Hey, we finally reached $500,000 in revenue." He's super happy, you know. But then shortly after that, he's like, "But man, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make payroll." and and I was like, "Oh, I know that story. I can relate to that experience." You know, at Willie's, we were what, Willie, 18 million revenue at one point?
Yeah, yeah, 16 million the year that we lost 1.3 million.
Right, and it was like, I still remember that the call before, "We don't know how we're gonna make payroll," and we had to borrow nearly $200,000 to get
Yep.
that payroll done that week, right? And it's like that memory came back to me. I was like, I know, I remember how Willie was really stressed about that week when that needed to happen. And so, you know, it's important that we talk about these things because you might be thinking like, "Ah, it won't happen to me. My business is growing. I'm doing well." But if you don't understand those numbers beneath the numbers, you're going to eventually get to this point of really uncomfortable times in your business. So how do we avoid this? How do we get into it? Well, it's because gross revenue is really loud and you see that, your eyes go to it. But what happens is with gross revenue is that unfortunately it lies to you, it misleads you if you don't understand unit economics, because that's really the truth. And once you understand that, you'll never look at your numbers again. So let's dive into why I say that gross revenue lies. And so let me take you back to this guy that I was talking to, and he's a landscape company, so he's super happy. And he tells me, "Look, we're doing $40,000 a month in sales." And I was like, "Okay, that's great. Like, that's awesome." I said, "Well, here's the problem though. Although he kept talking about what he was doing in revenue, each job, as we broke it down, was costing him. Each job was bringing in about $900, which is great. But the labor, the fuel, and the materials was costing him around $500. So his contribution margin is like 400 bucks, right? So you think, okay, it's fairly healthy. However, he was spending $700 to land ads for each job. So like all his money was going to something that he truly wasn't even tracking just to gain more business. So at the end of it, he was losing money and he hadn't yet discovered it. So he thought he just had a sales problem. He's like, "I need to sell more to get my business back to profitability." But he actually had a math problem because he wasn't looking at the right numbers. So that's why gross revenue will hype you up. It will make you feel like you're doing really well while it's emptying your account at the same time if you're not paying attention to the other numbers that are below it. So another story, and I know Willie, you've got your story lines up very well with the topic today. But I'll give you a bigger story that you might be able to relate to, and it's Uber. Everybody has used Uber here in this call, I'm sure, at one time or another. But did you know that they lost billions in rides during their first startup years? And it was because it wasn't because their negative profit. They were quite profitable at the beginning. However, their entire rides, their cost per rides was so out of whack that it cost them, like I said, billions of dollars. It was incredible that this such a success story was actually going to not be one, and it was going to go downhill. Another one that was quite famous, and particularly around COVID, was Peloton. Everybody was on the Peloton ride, right? Because the gyms were closed. Everybody went out and got these bikes to stay healthy. However, they had zero depth in their unit economics. And once that demand slowed down, and all of it went away because they didn't really know how to sustain it. They didn't know what their cost per unit was. And that leads me into like gyms. Gyms is another one that I find interesting when I talk to gym owners because they're always talking about their members. However, they never talk about what their actual cost of acquisition is and what their churn is. They're only talking about the revenue of the members coming in, but how do they sustain it? But by knowing what are their costs to attract new members and what happens when they lose members and when there's turnover. So I always like to think of it in this way. Think of revenue as the applause. It's what gets all the hype. It's what gets you the pats on the back. However, your profit and your unit per profit is really the oxygen. It's what gives you life. So I would challenge the group to start to dig deeper into the numbers. And so how do you do that? You might say, Hector, well, that's great. All sounds amazing, but I don't know where to start here. So I'm going to give you four numbers, four KPIs that you can go back to your business and dive into right away. And we're going to make it super simple so that it's really economics like for dummies here, okay? Very simple. So the first one I want you to look at is your cost to acquire a customer, your CAC. So, what does it really cost to win someone in? What is the total ads, discounts, commissions, lead gens, onboarding, all the stuff. Don't just look at your Facebook bill, like what you put into your ad account. It's got to be everything. So let's do just quick math between us in the room. Say you spent $10,000 to get 100 customers. So your cost of acquisition is $100, right? For every one acquisition, it costs you 100 bucks. But if 30 of those customers never buy again, then your cost of acquisition just got way more expensive than your original math. So it's important that you understand what that cost per acquisition is as it turns. Then the second number that we've talked about in the past, but I want to bring it up again, is your LTV, your lifetime value for your business and your accounts. And it's how much does that customer bring in over the term of their business relationship. So let's go back to my landscape buddy, and it might be around $300 per visit that he's bringing in revenue. Okay, so 3 visits a year. Average math, 2-year average retention, that's about $1,800 lifetime value. But if your retention sucks and they only have hire once, that's only $300 and you're probably losing at that point. So remember that the lifetime of the span of the relationship is critical when doing the math in this lifetime calculation. Okay? The next one is contribution margin. So this is revenue subtracting variable costs. This is a formula, so I want you to write that down. It's again revenue minus variable costs. This is before you pay rent, before you pay your taxes or payroll taxes, what's left after the direct costs to deliver the goods. So let's just do a quick example. Let's say you're at a gym. You want to buy you're selling protein shakes at a gym. You sell the shake for $12. And I'm using this example because I own a protein shake bar in El Salvador, okay? So you sell a protein shake, 12 bucks. The ingredients that cost to make that shake is $4. So you have an $8 margin, right? But if it takes $10 in marketing to spend to get that customer in the door, you're upside down, as an example, right? Or if all of a sudden you have a $10 cost in repairs that all of a sudden skyrocketed outside of your normal, cost of operations because you had to replace your shake machine, right? An industrial shake machine that went out. Well, now your cost per unit again brought you upside down. So it's knowing your contribution margin is critical in these equations. The next one, which we've talked around already, is profit per unit or per customer. So this is the one that really nobody tracks. And I'll be honest, we didn't track this one either when we were at Willie's. It was later on that we started tracking this. But it's the only one that decides if you actually scale or if you sink. So if you don't know your profit per customer today, if you take anything from this call, it's this number. You need to know what your profit per customer is. And it's quite simple. Here's the formula. It's your contribution margin minus your cost of acquisition. Okay. And so if we do this net, like if the net of one customer is $50, let's just say that, but it costs you $75 to get them, you don't have a growth problem. You have really a paying problem, right? You're paying way too much. So this is why you have to know the numbers. Otherwise, you're going to be looking at the wrong formulas and the wrong information. So again, I'm going to just talk about another story that's important for us because I want to make sure that you don't think of this as just, oh, it's just Hector and Willie's story. Other large organizations have gone through this. Another one was Netflix. And so Netflix is on the opposite of like hype. Everybody's talked about how they scaled and because their unit economics made sense. They were very smart in the way that they did it and they went about it in a very strategic way. So in the early stages, they had DVDs, right? So they used to mail out discs. Those were expensive, right? They used to ship them out. Those of us that were old enough to remember the Netflix subscriptions, you would used to get them at your house and then you had to ship them back. They would track them and they would ensure retention and they would monitor that super closely. So they knew exactly what each customer was worth because of their activity required them to be super dialed in. They didn't scale until revenue per customer heavily outweighed their cost per acquisition. And it wasn't until the streaming that came in that they really poured a lot of money into the lifetime value of their acquisition, which is why they went so focused into their programming. Right now Netflix makes suggestions to you based on your watching habits and the length of time that you watch because they need to know you so well. The algorithm starts to tell them just how dialed in they are into their customer base. And so, let's just make sure that we understand they didn't get there by accident. They got there strategically and very smartly by doing that. But you don't have to be any different. You just have to go in and understand your numbers and your data. And that is where you're going to then turn your business the right direction. And so you might say, okay, great. Well, what do I do to avoid it? So you don't want to get smoked. I don't want you to get smoked in the business world. So here's what you need to watch out for. Okay. If you don't know your churn, and churn that is for the people that leave you, you need to go find that out. Other companies that also fail is they don't count revenue. They only count revenue, I should say, but they ignore their margins. They don't know what their margins are. They think that using discounting is a strategy. A lot of you business owners and leaders might think, it's okay, we use discounts to grow. Be careful about the discounts that you're applying to when and where you should be applying them. Okay. And they scale products that they've never closed out on, done the math on a cost per unit, right? Or a new service. They just scale because they think it makes sense. Like you go into a new market without truly knowing the numbers of what it's going to cost you to gather those customers in that marketplace. Another one that I always hear about is they pay for leads, but they don't track conversion. Who's done that before? It's something that I hear quite often nowadays. And the last one that is one of the biggest buckets that I see that entrepreneurs and leaders make as mistakes is they assume retention without measuring it. They just assume everybody's going to stay, that no one's going to leave. And when they leave, they don't really know how much that they've been impacted by those that have left. So remember that growth isn't like growth doesn't just kill businesses. It's like bad scaling that kills businesses. So I don't want you to take away here saying, I shouldn't really look to grow. No, that's not what I'm saying. Is learn your unit economics so that when you do grow, you're going to grow smart and it's going to make sense for you down the road. So, some simple tidbits for some of the industries that we might have in the room. I know that we have an individual here that's a landscaper, right? So if your cost per acquisition is higher than your margin, you're financing your customer today. So start to look at how do you manage that. Track it by service. If you're a coach, and I think Tyler, you're a coach, right? Or you provide services around coaching. Um, if your churn is high and your cost per account skyrockets, so you want to monitor your churn, right? You always want to make sure you're staying on that. If you're providing a service, a construction, again, your cost per acquisition is the key to make sure that you monitor that so that you're not financing your customers. If you're selling products, where you ship out in a distribution center or retail, all of those shipping, returns, packaging, those are all variable costs that a lot of the times get ignored by businesses. Not as much in large organizations, but as you start out, they just think, oh, well, it's the shipping cost, we'll just average it out. And that's not true. You can't average out shipping costs. You need to know exactly what it is that it's going to cost you to ship each item that you're selling. So, today, as we go through and we talk about, the concept of unit economics, before we close, I want to talk to Willie. I want you to share your story, Willie, because I know this one hit home for you, both from a pain point and then also I'd love to hear about how you turned it around. What did you do to recognize that there was a way out of this, for your business?
Yeah, for sure. I can share a little bit here on based on my experience. First, I would like to be honest with you. I was the worst guy to figure this out, and so I got some help on this. Well, first it was my business coach that kind of got me to figure out what is your average revenue off of each shipment, and then
Yeah,
the next step he got me to really figure out what is the average cost per each shipment so we could see if we're actually making money or not. And I think that exercise really opened up my eyes to, okay, this is important to know because we were off. We were losing money on every shipment that we were shipping. Like
right.
that was the reason why we were not profitable. And so, and then, but I remember the first number we came up with, every shipment that we shipped for a whole month, the average revenue per shipment was at like $362.
Hmm.
And I think our cost was like 365 or something.
So
And
you were
so
upside down.
yeah, and and so but it gave me such a clear picture. If we could just increase that average shipment price, let's see if we can get it to 380, then we'll be in in the green. And so that was the very first step for me, and it was a big eye opener to, man, this is important that we know these numbers. And ever since then we always tracked our numbers around what the average revenue per shipment was and the costs.
Yeah, and I really appreciate the fact that you said, "Hey, listen, like I'm not an expert at this. This was something that I really struggled with because I want to make sure the group knows, listen, you don't have to have the answer. This doesn't need to be on you to be the expert. You just need to know that you have to have eyes on this activity, and it's okay to go get somebody within your team or hire somebody if you don't have them today to come be the expert internally, but you need to have recognized that these numbers are important for your business. You can't turn a blind eye to the fact that if you don't know your cost per shipment or your cost per acquisition, it's nobody else's fault but you as the owner and you as the leader, right? You can't blame it on Bob because Bob's inefficient when you haven't done the math right in your business. So that's great, Willie, that you shared that because it's important for the team to know it.
I have a
And
question.
it becomes a
Oh,
very easy um, thing to communicate to the team as well. Say this
Yeah,
is what we our findings is with the revenue based our costs, and it's very easy to get the team now involved to help us fix that issue.
absolutely. Tyler, you look like you have a question there.
yeah, I was just thinking, so 360, and then you were upside down a bit.
Yeah,
So we moved the price lever above so that we were making profit. Did we look at efficiencies as well, gains as
Absolutely.
well on the
Absolutely.
flip side?
We sure did,
yeah,
Tyler.
that,
And the one
Yeah,
point that I don't know, Willie, if you want to talk about that metric that we introduced.
that's a good
yeah.
metric. Yeah,
I was
yeah.
just going to say, actually, the biggest issue for us was actually on the cost side. We were so
Mm,
inefficient. That was the bigger issue actually,
Yes.
and so I'll let Hector speak to that a little bit because he was the guy to getting that really in line.
Yeah, thanks, Willie. So the number that we took, Tyler, was our 100th weight. And so we looked at what the
mm.
cost, the every time we moved 100 pounds of weight, we
Oh,
needed to
okay.
know what our cost was per 100th weight. And so
Mm,
Yeah,
because our invoicing was sold on 100 pound cube weight, that means we needed to know the exact same equivalent on the cost side. And so we
hmm.
tracked everything. Our formula was based on, let's say we moved 1,000 pounds today, and it took us
Yeah,
3 man hours. That's the 100th weight formula. And we needed
yeah.
to just do that, do a reverse. That needed to be as low as possible, to ensure that our revenue stayed where it needed to be at.
Huh, got it.
Yeah, great question though. I mean, this is exactly
Yeah,
the concept
yeah.
that I want everybody to think about. It was a two-prong approach as Willie looked at, hey, where can we go grow? Where can we charge more because our lanes allow us to, or what services can we add that will allow us to add more? That's great, but we need to make sure that we don't add more cost while doing that. So an example of growth in revenue that Willie may have done at the time, and I remember this is, look, we're still servicing the Grand Prairie to Edmonton. There's no extra labor that we're going to add into this, but what we're going to do is if we deliver by 5 a.m., those 5 a.m. deliveries are going to come at a premium. So we're going to charge now a little bit more for those 5 a.m. deliveries than we would next day service. Next day service, we can deliver it till 4 p.m. But if you want it by 5 a.m., that's going to come at a bit of a premium. There's no extra labor involved, so the additional revenue was truly now filtered to the bottom line. Yeah, Willie. So when I continue, let's talk about like sort of what other learnings did you have, and what were some of the things that really made it stick for you?
yeah. It's I think when you really came up with the formula on the 100 weight and just tracking that on a daily basis, like you had a spreadsheet where all the numbers went in and where we had that data on a daily basis, and you talked about it on the huddle call every single day, right? This is what our cost per 100 weight was yesterday.
Yeah, and I can tell you guys, like that was a bit of a challenge because we needed our data to be inputted every single day. That means you might have to go to your internal admin team, so whomever's doing your invoicing, making sure that it is updated every single day, and then your payroll activity updated every single day. We had the right tools, and if we didn't, we went and we developed them. We went and we got all of that put in place that allowed us to have a daily report that told us our activity per day. How much did we bill every single night based on, again, that activity of weight to cost? and then or cost or to revenue, and then we knew what our labor spent was because everybody, clocked in, clocked out, and we had a rough average number that we used on our labor side to give us a good indicator of what our 100th weight activity was at. And then we would go back and we'd review it on our huddles. And at those huddles, we would say to our branches, hey, you were off on your 100th weight yesterday. Why? And that branch manager then had to respond back and tell us why they were off yesterday. Oh, we had a truck that broke down. That added an extra 5 hours to the day. We ended up sending another individual to go rescue the load. That was an extra 10 man hours. All of a sudden, it's explainable. We know why it happened. We just now know that tomorrow we can't have that repeat. We need to be better tomorrow, and so on, and so that we better win the week so that we can win the month, right? And that's the type of activity that you get when you're empowered with data and you're reviewing it every day, but also knowing what to review. Because you could have a report every day, and if you don't know what you're looking for, it's going to be meaningless to you.
Yeah, and that what you just mentioned there, that was the behind the scene, the power of it was bringing the issues forward that each branch might have that we would have never found out if you weren't tracking the numbers.
Exactly, right? If we didn't track it and we didn't review it, then who would speak to it? Right?
Yeah.
No one would be talking about it. So this is why, for me, I think like if you don't know your economics, like you're gambling with your growth. A lot of people say, I want to grow. I have aspirations to take my business from 500,000 to 1 million to 10 million. Good. I love that. That's great ambition. But do you have the right processes and internal systems that will allow you to scale smart? Because you can't fix what you're not tracking, and you can't scale what you don't profit from. Like you just don't. You're just going to add more revenue and add more problems. So like I just like to make sure that everybody hears me. Like I think revenue is key. Like if you don't have it, you're never going to gain. But if you don't know your unit economics and you don't know the activity, then you're not going to be truth to yourself and to your teams about your positioning in the market and how you actually scale healthy. So would love to just open it up, hear some questions out there around the topic. This is a live one in that I'd like to get into it. Don't be shy to ask questions around the specific 4 measurables that we talked about. And if you're not using this today, it's okay. Like we don't expect you to know it. We're here to talk about it so that you can understand it, and then you can go determine if this is required in your teams to be monitored, right? So maybe we'll start with you, Mike. I think you're the first one that I see on sort of on my screen. So we'll go to you first. I think you're unmuting there. There you
There
go.
we go. Hey guys, yeah, we at Wheeler, we track everything we do. We do know how much we spend on our marketing.
Mhm.
I don't know if we go really down to the nitty-gritty to like how much per customer it's costing us. But we do divide it up between all 7 divisions that we got. So
Oh,
so everyone gets a portion of that marketing that we do put out there.
I see. So
So
it's so you don't track it per division. It's blended out.
it's blended. Like we spend $15,000 a month,
Yeah.
but then it's pushed out to all 7 divisions to take that burden on.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. So how do you know which one is the division that's attracting the most or costing you the most then?
Yeah, we don't, which is now listening to you guys. Yeah, we don't. We don't know exactly how that's put into there.
Hmm.
So that's something that I should start bringing up. I do know like our profits and our bottom line and all of that stuff. It's all broken out per. It's really broken out into detail.
Uh-huh.
But as per customer, I don't know if they know how much a customer costs us
Because it's a
exactly.
because for me, it would be interesting to know that because I know in the past we've talked about like, hey, we have to have X amount of price point we go to market on, I think it was your commercial side, you told us before that you were one of the highest, in the market. But is that because you may not really know like the cost and acquisition for that account, or is it because the materials in the commercial side are higher?
Well, that was our service side. Our service side, I bet you if I haven't dug into our service side crazy amounts. I've touched on it with them, but I have been working with the other ones really heavy. But they probably know how much a customer costs them just with the tools that they use. I can almost guarantee that they know. As
Mhm.
for the other divisions, no, because like you're right, like they got to include me in trying to go get those clients in there. They got to include a lot of things, right? And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, they take me as overhead to the company, right? And then that's one of our lines. And we run overhead, and we have a line in our estimates for overhead costs that we allow per job, per percentage on how much. And yeah, that's
Yeah.
how we've been running the commercial, and that's how I've been running commercial my whole career.
So it might sound like you're structured as if you're part of the corporate cost. So, right.
Exactly, yeah.
So I see how they've structured it, and then each division should have a corporate kickback, right? A percentage that they position north.
Yeah, we put for our allocation for our divisions for overhead, so our corporate,
Yeah.
we everyone gets 5% deductions, 5% off their revenue every month is what we take
Yes.
from their revenue. So we'll pull 5% of whatever
That's
they
right.
make. $1 million, we'll take 5% of that. And
Right.
that's a loss for them, right?
That's right. That's
Yeah.
what I meant, right? Like you
Yeah.
needed to be able to take that north so that it
Yeah.
covers your corporate costs, right?
Yeah.
Now, in that corporate cost, I'm sure that there's a cost for acquisition that's being calculated there. In
Yeah.
order to
I should talk to our CFO about that
yeah,
just to get a better understanding.
I think that there's something built in there because I can see how the numbers are lining up and that there is definitely an angle that might be played there, but I just don't know if you know that. And if you don't know that, then it's important for if you're going out to gain customers, are you providing too much of a discount, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, it's good to know. And then as for scaling, our company scaled quite fast every year. It's been growing quite heavily, but that hasn't been unrecognized 5 years ago.
Mm,
Um, he's planned the company to be where it is 5 years ago. So it's strategic planning on that side of things so that the company doesn't overgrow itself and then cause issues. Like today, it's structured around where he landed it, where it should be today. And then another 5 years, it'll be structured and then that percentage growth that we expect to grow
that's
is
growing
how we're
smart.
trying to run it. So
Amazing. Like that's what we've talked about. And Willie, that brings me back to like the vision and putting in a VTO in an organization so that that you can plan out your 1 year, 3 year, 5 year goals, and you have sort of your numbers that align to those goals too,
yes.
right? So no, it's awesome. Thanks, Mike.
Perfect.
Any questions
Yeah.
for us today?
No, like I said, I'm gonna go and talk to our CFO and try to see the costs of our clients, see what they are costing us at the end of the day.
Awesome. Good one.
Yeah.
Thanks. All right,
Thanks, guys.
yeah, I'll go next again, just in order of what I see on my screen here. So I'll go to Peter next. Hey, Peter.
Hey, yeah, for me, I'm very new to this all. I'll be honest with you. I do watch the gross revenue.
Mhm.
Like you said, revenue is key. So if there's no revenue, then there's no everybody else is behind you that wants everybody I think wants to get paid, right? So if there's no revenue, there's nothing coming in,
Right.
and you're upside down, and that doesn't look good on you. So I mean, on me. So we
Peter,
don't have.
I'm thinking for you, it's you could look at trying to figure out what your lifetime customer revenue might be on a client that you're bringing on in the insurance policy, right?
Yeah.
And then you could say, okay, this is what my time is worth per month, and then this is how many I close deals average per month. Now that's your cost of acquiring a customer and looking
Mhm.
at what your lifetime revenue is. So you'll have that offset.
So the lifetime revenue, depending, like usually people stay on, like on an average, about 20% of people that will stay on for 40 years. So in a
Mm,
40-year lifespan, let's say for an average, they pay $100 a month, that's $1,200 a year. So for me, that is after 10 years, I get from that revenue. So for me, the cost is just for signing that person up. The cost for me is not a whole lot other than getting that person. But
Mhm.
in the end, the revenue that I would get is more than what it would cost for me. Because an average, for me, what I get is a $450 an hour or something. Like that's on average what I get. But to spend that time is also, I have to take the time that gets me
yeah.
to go around that circle, right? So
Yeah, I think in your field, a lot of people don't count their time worth. And so let's say you want to gross 8 grand per month. Well, how many clients did you sign up the last month? Divide that by that number, and that's your cost basically getting those clients, right?
yeah. So in that regards, let's say I had I'll just take a round number, 10,000. So that would be roughly 5 clients. And on average, it take me about 3 hours per client. So that's 5 clients, 15 hours for 10 grand. That's just a rough number.
Okay. So 15 grand into 10 hours? Is that
10 grand into 15 hours.
10 grand into 10 hours? Or did,
Fif-
sorry,
But
15. Sorry. Yeah, I got it now. I got it.
and you're saying that in hours, but what I'm thinking though, you're still tied up a lot more, like you're full-time trying to acquire customers. So all
Yeah,
that time that you're not spending with people one-on-one is still has to be come into that cost,
correct.
right?
That's
Yeah,
right. Your total costs, your
Yeah.
total
So,
time in.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, on
and,
average, I spend about 30 hours a week. So
mm,
that's just doing that. And then like also when they file claims and stuff, so that's where also I have to put in time. So today, for example, I spent with another 3 hours with an individual to help them with a claim. So that's where my time goes.
Yeah, you're spending, you definitely have to break it down to understand what your numbers are here. Because
Yeah,
otherwise you may be over leveraging your time, right? And you might not gain enough on the revenue side.
yeah.
That's cool. Good stuff, Peter. But
Thanks so much.
this is something that, although challenging or sounds like it, it may not, hit home right away. Knowing these numbers for you is going to be critical as you scale, as you grow, and as you target the right customers for you.
Correct.
Right. So awesome. Thanks, Peter. We'll go next. I think I see Tyler next on my screen.
Hello.
Hey, Tyler.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't have enough data yet for my stuff where we're at. So a lot of it's like learning right
Right.
now where it's coming in.
Mhm.
Based on what our revenue is each month, I buy hours basically of help at a time to make it
I see.
work. So I'm always staying ahead of it basically.
Okay.
But it's just my onboarding process that I have with my team. So my cost expectations are always like preset, and we try to stay pretty tight, but it gets pretty scary sometimes. I'm
Yeah.
really interested in the unit economics part. I think I'd like to know more about that. We manage rates and units of measure and products and relationships, and by having that, it's just a formula to kind of break that stuff down. But
Mm.
I'm thinking I'm kind of on the right track with it by utilizing a unit of measure, because it just shouldn't matter if it's a meter cubed or an hour or whatnot. I can still divide that out and see where am I gaining and losing, especially bringing in like your vendor costs.
Totally.
into the work dynamic of that,
Yes,
right?
yes, yeah.
So
You have to include that. You know,
yeah,
failing to bring in that vendor cost into the mix, you're potentially leaving yourself vulnerable because you're not seeing all of it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah,
So
no,
that's
very
really good.
informative.
Well, you know what? I'm glad that this one hit home for you because you know, as you scale and as you grow, getting the right data is critical. You may not have it today, which you know you've said, but you can work down the path to get you the data that you need. So
Hmm.
you can say like, hey, I need this number. How can I capture it? What do I need to do? If it's manual for short term, that's okay, as long as I have the visibility of that. And as you
Hmm.
are able to systemize it and leverage technology to automate that number
Hmm.
being available to you, great, then you could go down that path. But you don't scale to the point to the where you don't have visibility because then it's like you're jumping off a cliff. You just don't know, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think that's where our members have the biggest problem is they're working with so many other companies,
Mhm.
right? So one guy has a truck, another guy has the trailer, and they got to put all that together. And then
Oh
that
yeah,
might change just based on the job, you
right,
know? So when the ticket comes in, you kind of got to know how you're kind of piecing together. But when you see that truck driving down the road, you don't really realize that like it could be a makeup of like 5 different companies alone, just dealing with that one ticket. You know what I'm saying?
right. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
definitely. No, that's
but
interesting. Good stuff, Tyler. Again,
cool.
you know, if you had any questions, let us know.
All right.
All
Thanks.
right, thanks. All right, I'll go next. I think I see Andrew on my screen.
I'll put mute mine.
Okay.
There you go.
So for me, I will be collecting a lot of data and going over what the cost is per customer and see what my profit is. That'll be my next few months of work.
Yeah, it made sense to you and how to apply it to your business now?
Oh yes, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Good stuff. Now, do you have the data available to you? I mean, you're sort of in the early stages, right? So compiling the information maybe a bit manual in your case?
No, I actually have an accountant who entered it all into a system. So, and I use QuickBooks, so I do the invoicing. Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
Account.
Awesome. So you're further ahead than I thought. That's great. Good for you. That's really good. That's awesome. That means that you can pull reports every day, especially if you have like QuickBooks, you're able to get that right off the bat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
QuickBooks is pretty nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Good stuff, Andrew. Any questions in particular?
Not that I can think of.
No? All right, good. All right, thanks. We'll go over to James.
Hey,
Hey, James.
I'm still out in the field, but yeah.
You're
Um,
still out there. I appreciate you coming and listening in. Is this stuff resonating with you?
yeah, it is.
Nice.
As far as tracking cost per customer, that's kind of an interesting conversation. No, we're not specifically tracking costs per customer. We
Mhm.
track our hours, billable hours and stuff like all everything that moves in the company, I guess, gets tracked every day. So
Right?
we have that, but the one thing that I think we should be doing is tracking installs separate and service separate. Right now everything's in one barrel. So
Oh,
at the end of the year we're showing X, but where did most of this money come from? Was it more installs? Was it more service? Was it maybe even more one truck than the other? And they're
yeah.
really mixed together. So we are tracking a lot of, like, we're definitely tracking the day-to-day stuff every morning when, Amber gets through all the timesheets from the previous day. Everything
Mhm.
is on a sales order or an invoice, one of the two. So that part
Right.
is all good, but down to which customer is costing me the most, or maybe a customer that I would just want to dump because I can't make money on them anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
That's
is
that's
probably
that's a
something I should be.
That's a very important topic to hit on. Understanding your revenue types is critical as a sub-step, right? Because then you know how you should market or who you should market the most and the least to. At the same time, you'll now know how to price those customers, right? Willie, I'll defer back to you because this is something that we did as well at Willie's Trucking, right? When we first had our first P&L, maybe share with the team what were some of the things that we did.
Yeah, one thing I remember once we really figured, well, what's making the most sense for our business to really focus the growth on? And for us, it was LTL freight, like the smaller shipments. We basically said if they are not a current regular customer, we're not after the full loads anymore. So we pushed the full load stuff aside. That's not the business that we wanted to go after anymore. And we just focused on building the LTL side, and our margins kept going up with that focus.
Yeah, and it all
And
came
so
from
Right.
breaking down the revenue, right? And understanding what was the LTL revenue, so less than truckload revenue, what was the
yeah,
full load revenue, what was the deck revenue that was LTL, and
yeah,
what was the deck revenue that was full deck load revenue.
exactly. Yeah, and our number one focus became that van LTL freight. LTL deck freight was also good, but there
Hmm.
was more costs involved with than the van freight. So now all our marketing went to LTL van freight. That's what we were after.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was leaning to back to you, James, is, right now you might be having your full revenue all dumped into one line, and that's good as an overview. But you and your leadership team need to go deeper into that so that you can plan growth. If you start to see that your residential or that your commercial, one of them is giving you more revenue, you called it install, then that's where your marketing then efforts should be guided to, because it seems like that's what's driving you more. Or if you say, hey, look, I don't know why we're not getting enough of this type. Maybe I need to add more marketing dollars here to grow that because profitably it's a better business. Then you target your marketing that way. But it gives you options
Right.
to really, start to look at where you should be putting attention to in your business.
Right. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and
Well,
it's and
James,
it's us. Go ahead, Willie.
no, I was just gonna say, James, I'm excited the things that I've learned here the last couple days in Dallas. You're planning to implement this Go High Level platform CRM, and a lot of good marketing
Yep.
tips that I've picked up here, so we can figure that out for you.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, we need to get some of that. I need to get the CRM thing figured out, and even like today, I was talking to you yesterday. It's missed calls, and I'm up on a man lift somewhere, and yeah, there's some stuff that we need to iron out yet.
There you go.
Yeah.
We have a few minutes. I'm curious to know what are some of the live issues that you are facing today? I'd like to just open it up. I'd like to hear it from the group. If anybody has a live issue, something that's a pain point this week that you'd like to discuss as a group. I think I'd like to leave 10 minutes at the end of our call, because we have our topic that we describe, but I want to open the forum. I want you as the community to bring it to us and say, hey, listen, I'm having a people issue. I'm having a customer issue. I'm having whatever it may be issue. But I want to hear it. What would be a pain point that you'd like to discuss? Who's brave enough to share today?
James, why don't you share what you were calling, or yesterday we were talking about a little bit about your phone calls.
Right. Yeah. So I have obviously I'm the guy answering all the taking all the phone calls. And I absolutely hate if a phone call isn't answered. But on the
Mm,
flip side, I'm only one guy. So I have an admin person that could take calls during the day, but I'm one of those old school guys that I don't like AI, or I don't mind AI. I think it's good, but
mhm.
I'm looking at getting a live call center set up to take weekend calls, evening calls. It doesn't matter, if it's a customer that calls any time of day, somebody's taking this call, right? And I know me
Right.
and Willie were talking about that yesterday with AI, and he knows I'm kind of back and forth with that idea, but yeah, is that that's what you meant, Willie?
Yeah, so I thought it would be good to hear Hector's point of view on, yeah, what's the process of getting somebody else to start answering the phone?
Yeah.
And the other thing,
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, James.
I was just going to say, the other thing is, I don't know if anybody else in the room has the same attitude, but when I call to a bank and all you get is, oh, sorry, couldn't recognize you. Oh, sorry, I don't have an answer. And then, well, just connect me to a damn person for once. And you can't talk to any real human being, right? So then I
Yes.
get really ticked.
Yeah, I totally can relate. I can't stand it, James. I'm on the same boat. I though recognize that AI is coming. AI is going to be the wave of the future, and where these chatbots will be very much like humans. They're not there today. They will be in a matter of months, and I'm gonna say months because it's not gonna be years. Like this stuff is moving so fast that it will be months in which these bots will be able to interact with you. You will be able to speak to them. They will speak back and have answers for you. I know Willie's already sort of tested some of that here with us. You can, of course, still go the old school route. You can still hire somebody to do that. You're going to add substantial costs to your business in doing so if you do so locally in the local market. So a lot of organizations look to offshore that, right? They look at countries to where they're offsetting it. If you're looking for nighttime support here, you might look at Asian countries, right? Because it's daytime there, right? And and so on. And if that's not the issue, and you might be concerned about, hey, look, their communication might be the issue for you if you go to an Asian country. Well, then I've seen organizations that pivot and they look at Latin America because English is a strong language spoken in Latin America and the accent isn't as thick. And so there are human options. It's just that you are going to determine what's really best for your business. My suggestion is you might be ready. You might as well get ready for that AI stuff because it's coming. Like it's coming. And as much as we hate it, I'm on the same boat with you because I hate talking to a robot that doesn't understand my voice and it's doesn't like it and it's frustrating me. It will get better. I would encourage that you maybe think about how that's going to work. While it's not there, maybe you start with one offshore person, the Philippines. They can answer the phone for you at night. It's going to be super low cost, and I know it because I've done it. I've set it up for other organizations, and it's roughly anywhere from like $7 to $12 an hour is what you're paying those individuals in the Philippines. It's super cheap,
Okay.
and they are amazing. Like I can tell you, they've
I,
got some good ones.
okay.
Check out
I have a
Upwork.
Teams meeting.
Oh.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, check out Upwork as well. That's a good source for finding virtual assistants and resources. You can kind of pick the location and the time zones as well. That helps out quite a bit.
That's right. Yeah, Upwork
Right.
is a great tool.
Yeah, to me, it's frustrating to me if there's nobody taking a call, even if it is 8:30 at night and they could be calling tomorrow. But it's one of those things where if it is a real emergency call and we need to go somewhere because somebody hit a door, I'll go. But if it's just, I think it'd be so much better for myself and for everybody on the team if we had something like that in place. And yeah, that was a conversation me and Willie had yesterday, I guess.
What
Yeah.
I told James too was now he has to really think of the process. What are
Mhm.
these people need to know about his business
That's
and how
right.
he's going to train them? So that's also another task to do then.
Yeah, totally,
There's
Willie. That's very critical.
Scripted.
I have a right. I have a Teams meeting set up with the company that another door company uses currently, and I'm curious to see if it'll be, I mean, if they're currently working for a door company, it's probably not that much work to just put me, like, I'm guessing it'll be the same questions, right? So that's why I was kind of hoping to target the same company
Mhm.
Because they are all currently working for another door company. I was like, oh, I like this. I was really impressed with the way they handled my call.
Yeah, and that could be an angle. Just make sure that they know your processes, right? Because the other organization might handle, things differently. They might set things up differently versus yours, right? So that
Right.
you just what Willie was alluding to is when you go bring them on, you have to know exactly what you're going to expect from them to teach them and explain it to them. Have the scripts, like Tyler was saying, of how their communication should be like, but also they should be taught your processes in field. How do you book calls? How do you prioritize schedules, right? How do you deal with claims? And or inefficiencies in the field, like how do they deal with that? Because those may be questions that a new customer might have. It might not be at 10 p.m. at night, but it might come up, right? It might just say, hey, okay, if I
Mhm.
book you today, like what's your earliest availability? And if that person doesn't have access to your availability schedule, then it's going to frustrate them if they hear, well, we'll call you back in the morning. Then why are you answering?
Right.
You know what I mean? So having them
Right.
set up for success is going to be really critical in the role. So don't just think I'll go get the role, plug in the person, and don't give them a lifeline because it's going to fail then.
Right. Okay. Is there anybody else anybody else in the room that has something like this currently that can speak to that? After hours service maybe or something?
Oh, I think we lost Mike. Mike would have probably been one. I don't know if he's still on. I don't see his camera on. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, we use AI. We have
You use it.
they call
Okay.
in. It's yeah, we use it. I called in to test it. It works really well for us. It takes the right information down for us, and then yeah, it's a really good tool that we're using. We only use it
Really? Do you
after
mind?
hours, and yeah.
Okay. Do you
And
mind
Which
sharing
which
which
one?
platform or?
I can get that information for you. Yeah, I don't know off
Okay.
the top of my head, but I can definitely get that information. Um, but yeah, they we were answering the phone. Well, the service department was most of it. They was answering the phone way too much after hours, and so we
Mhm.
decided to implement this, and they're loving it, everything about it. And you said it
Really?
with the questions, you said it with the right voice that you want.
Mm.
It's something else.
yeah, I
Yeah,
told you
but
yesterday.
it
Oh, oh, sorry, Mike, go ahead.
no, that's everything. Like it's very moldable now. Um, very moldable, and I could almost I could tell it was AI, but they're getting way better.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. I think within months, like the stuff that's coming and being developed right now, it's pretty cool stuff, and I know it's gonna change a lot of these roles. But again, if that isn't something for you, Upworks is a great option. You can certainly source virtual EAs and virtual assistants as well. And they're remote. They're from the Asia all over there. I know Latin America, and they can certainly help cover those hours for you, James.
Does anybody here, I don't know what everybody does, but does anybody here have that type of business that has 24-hour stuff and that you find that you have a lot of people calling in saying this is an emergency, but it's not?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Every truck
I-
driver.
Every
So,
I have 268 drivers currently, operators, in our field,
Yeah.
at West and in all the 7,000 customers that we service.
And
Yeah,
and
so
everything is always an emergency, right? Or like even at night, right? We
Oh, I think James may have frozen up, but yeah, absolutely. We certainly find that it is challenging, to operate 24/7. But you know, with that, you have to just have the right processes. And I appreciate that James is asking here today, because what he's really looking for is, what is the solution? What is the best way to overcome this? And it's really in the future, and in the future, I mean within in the next 12 months, it should be through technology. I believe that through tech, you should be able to scale your business, providing after-hour services that helps your business stay on top of your customers' needs and your internal needs, you know, while keeping your costs relatively down. So that's what I see. But yeah, we're at 5:04 now, and I guess, you know, just to plug it in and for everybody again, think of this time going forward, bring in a question, bring in a hot button issue that you have in your organizations. We'd love to be able to discuss it as a group and really be able to engage as a community. Like, let's help each other grow. Let's help each other, you know, learn from our wins and avoid our mistakes, because we've all been there. We're all human, right? We've all heard the Willie story. We've all heard how many millions it was lost, and we want to help each and one of you avoid making those mistakes. All right. I appreciate it again.
Very
It's
good.
that time. So we thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hey,
Awesome.
just one thing I was gonna mention, I don't know if everyone has downloaded our app now.
Hmm.
We got the app up and running, so yeah, if anybody has any issues with it, let us know so I can see if we need to do anything with it. And also I have a survey form that I wouldn't mind texting to you guys here after the call, if that's okay. I'll just send you a quick message with a link, and if you have some time, feel free to just fill that out for us.
Sure.
awesome. And when is the Android version coming, Willie?
You know what? I had a message here that it wasn't up yet, but I am hoping in the next day or so.
Excellent.
Nice.
Excellent. So,
Perfect.
I know Mike was asking me the other day, when's the Android one coming?
Yeah. Okay.
Do it.
Awesome. Sounds good, folks. Appreciate your time again, and we will see you next week.
Awesome.
Thanks. Take care.
Have a good one.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye.
Okay, bye.